Hi, so did you hear the difference in those two examples? Well, the difference is of course New York compression, the subject of this video. But before you start thinking, isn't that just that old parallel compression technique? Well, it definitely is a classic mixing technique, but there's a little bit more to it. So let's go. Yeah, so the New York compression technique is of course a technique that originated from New York City. It started being used by mixing engineers over there in the 90s, I believe. And as I understand it, it was first published about and given that name by a mixing engineer called Bobby Osinski, who wrote this book, The Mixing Engineer's Handbook. This is the second edition I have over here, but there's a newer one out now. It's still a great book, so I'll provide an affiliate link in the description so you can check it out and support the channel if you buy it via that link. Now, the New York compression technique is in fact a parallel compression technique, but it has some specific tweaks and twists which make it into the real New York compression technique, and that I feel make quite a bit of difference compared to regular parallel compression. So hang in there and let me explain. Now, the track that you heard in the opening of this video and that I'm using as a demo for this technique is actually a multi-track that was provided by Produce Like a Pro in a video of about an hour long where Mark Daniel Nelson shows how he mixed this song. It's a great video and it also has a download link for these multi-tracks. So if you want to try it yourself, I'll provide a link to that video in the description. The song is called Take My Lonely by an artist called Jeremiah Jones, and he graciously allowed me to use this song for this video. So I'll provide a link to his website and socials as well. So check out his songs and show him some love as well, because they're really great. But let's get going with this and dive into Cubase. So let's have a listen to part of the song first without the New York compression technique. Yeah, so nothing really wrong with that, but I think we can fatten it up a bit with this classic technique. And for that we're going to add a parallel channel to the drums first. And the current drum routing is that the individual drum instruments are going to the drums all group, all of them over here. And the drums all group is going to the drums group, and the drums group is going to my mix bus, which is the stereo out. So I'm now going to add a parallel channel to the drums all group, a group channel. We're going to route that to drums. And we're going to call this New York City Compression. And if we go to the mixer view, you can see that all the drum tracks here have already been processed with mostly EQ and compression. And there is some processing on the drum bus over here. But at the moment we have drums all going to drums and New York compression going to drums. And we're now going to send all drums to this New York compression channel as well. So we're adding a send here to the NYC group. And let's turn it on and leave it on 0 dB. And on the NYC group, we're now going to add a compressor. And a very typical group compressor is of course the SSL G-Bus compressor. So let's select the one from Waves, just because it sounds great. And the idea is now that we choose a fast attack, because the transients will come from the original drum track and not so much from this track. We're going to add a sort of long release. You can time it to the tempo of the track if you really want to, but the most important part is that there are no obvious pumping artifacts. Yeah, the ratio, just choose a high one. The maximum of this compressor is 10:1. And let's listen to the compression channel only over here and lower the threshold until we get a significant amount of compression, like somewhere between 10 and 20 dB basically. Okay, let's adjust the makeup gain so that the loudness stays about equal. Yeah, so there's a significant amount of compression. What I'm hearing is that the transients are really reined in because of the fast attack, and that the soft parts of the drum sound are being pushed up, like for example the room sound, or the way the drums decay after being hit. Let's have another listen. First without. Yeah, really clearly brings up the background. Then the next step is that we listen to the full mix again and that we slowly bring up the New York compression channel until we like what we hear basically. Yeah, so now it's almost as loud as the original drums, so we need to take down the drum bus a bit so that the drums are not louder in the whole track. Now before I go on and show you what makes this into the real New York compression technique, instead of just being parallel compression, if you like this video or find it useful at all, please give it a big thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps a lot to get this video shown to more people. And it also helps if you subscribe to the channel and ring the little bell icon if you want to get notified when I publish another video. If you want to give the channel some more love, there is the super thanks button below, which is kind of a virtual tip jar, or there are many affiliate links in the description as well. If you are planning to buy anything at one of these stores, then if you do so after clicking one of these affiliate links, I will get a small percentage of your purchase without any additional cost to you, which is great help for the channel and much appreciated. But let's get back to the real New York compression technique. Now the first step that makes the current parallel compression setup into the real New York compression technique is that we add an EQ on the New York compression channel. So let's just add a standard Pro Q3, and the idea is that we can add a low shelf at around 100 Hz of about 3 dB and a high shelf around 10K also of about 3 dB. And in his book, Bobby Owsinski even talks about pushing 6 dB or more on these bands, but I think this sounds best for this track. So let's again first listen to just the compression channel and see what kind of difference this makes, first without. Yeah, it kind of makes the compressed sound a little bit more open even, with a bit more sizzle on top and some more foundation on the bottom. Let's listen to it in the full mix, first without the EQ. Yeah, it's more subtle in the full mix, but it does make a difference. Now the second thing that makes this into the real New York compression technique is if we also send some bass guitar to this group. So let's listen to that in the full mix so that we can hear whether we're adding too much bass or not. This is the bass group. Let's send it to the New York compression channel as well. Let's start with 0 and gradually increase it. Okay, let's now compare with and without New York compression on the full mix. Yeah, so when I listen to the differences, what I notice is it sounds bigger, more fat, with more energy basically. And that's usually a great thing to have on a track like this. It may not always fit, but I warn you, if you start using this, you're gonna find it hard to do without afterwards. Now, right now I send all drums to the New York compression group, of course, but it's also possible to maybe just send the kick and the snare and maybe the toms separately, and then also not send all of the same amounts, but maybe a little bit more of the snare, less of the kick and toms, for example, so that you can really tweak the sound to what you want. Now, if you know anything more about this technique, or you have some other variations which you really found to work well, let us know in the comments so we can all learn from it. Now, if you like these kinds of classic mixing techniques, I also have a video on how to use a 1073 EQ on the snare drum to always make it sound good. I'll link that video up here, check it out, enjoy, and see you soon.